From the studios of Foxborough Cable Access, located in the center of Foxborough, Massachusetts, you are watching Around Foxborough.
Hello, and welcome to Around Foxborough, the show where we learn about the people, places, and things that make Foxborough the gem of Norfolk County. My name is Mark Rivard, and I'm pleased to have as my guest today, Jennifer Manzanillo. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm well.
So you have some interesting experiences to share with us. You were in the Peace Corps in Madagascar for what, 3 years?
2.5 years.
2.5?
Yes.
So how did that come about? Because I was doing a little research and I know you went to Berkeley for music. How did that's a whole different field. You were a teacher in Madagascar. You want to tell everybody what you were doing there?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's an entire different field, given that I was always into traveling abroad and engaging in cultural exchanges, and music is a huge part of that. But prior to joining the Peace Corps, and this is also how I met Jury, I started a club at Berklee College of Music called Beyond Borders, and essentially what it did was send musicians, Berklee musicians, abroad to the Dominican Republic to engage in music camps with kids there. So I feel like my work as a Peace Corps volunteer in Madagascar was an extension of that, except it wasn't so musically inclined. So after graduating Berklee College of Music, I worked as a music teacher for Boston Public Schools for about 3-4 years. And then I just felt that urge to kind of be put in an environment that was completely different from me and like kind of let my creativity just like span. Like I wanted to be somewhere that was not familiar. I was born and raised in Boston, so it had become kind of boring after a while. So that's why I decided to join the Peace Corps. I wanted to figure out where my talents and skill set fit best in the world.
Yeah. So when you went into the Peace Corps, you were an English teacher?
That's what they placed me as an English teacher in rural Madagascar.
And did you know any Malagasy or French? Or because I know those are the languages that are spoken there, right?
Malagasy, yes.
Yeah, Malagasy.
No Malagasy or French. And actually, when you join as a Peace Corps volunteer, you receive 3 months of intensive language and cultural training. So I was living with a host family after my second day in country, and we were learning language 5 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's because I've read that it's a very hard language to learn.
For French, yes. For the Malagasy, it's a little bit more simpler than French. But in general, for all Peace Corps volunteers around the world, they have to learn a certain level of the language before they are placed in their sites. And in some countries, the languages are harder than Malagasy, like, for example, China or Arabic.
Yeah. Well, French isn't that bad. I'm French, so I know a little bit, but not enough to get by.
Yeah, but
in Madagascar.
In Madagascar, you only need French if you're living in the capital and they use French numbers, but the primary language is Malagasy.
So were you teaching youth? Were you teaching adults, mixed?
For my primary project, I was teaching younger students, so 6th through 12th grade. The grades that I didn't teach 12th grade, but I did teach 6th, 7th, and 10th and 11th.
And so how did they do? I mean, these are students who wanted to learn English, obviously. Are they familiar with a lot of United States customs or media or anything, or?
No, not really.
No?
I mean, technology is expanding around the world, but it's up and coming in Madagascar. So they don't have access to news or some of the same things that we do. Because of Facebook, that is slowly changing. I feel like a lot of people are getting into Facebook in countries around the world, including in Africa. The reason we were brought there is to help support their English program nationally as well. It's helpful for them to have native speakers to come into the classroom and sort of give them that cultural component and the practical aspect of learning a language. So that is like one of the main benefits of having Americans come into the classroom. And also their national exams are given to them. They have the option of taking it either in English or in French.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's intense.
Yeah, I guess. And most people, when we say Madagascar, they think of the movie. They don't really know. But it's an island off of the coast of Africa, correct?
It is an island off of the east coast of Africa, in between the Indian Ocean and the Mozambique Canal. And it is real. I've gotten that question before, like, is Madagascar real? And yes, it is a real country. There is a Malagasy, a small but growing Malagasy American community in the United States. There is a Malagasy food truck in New York City, which opened up while I was serving in Madagascar. And what else can I say? It is one of the most beautiful and unique countries I have ever visited. I feel like my life has been transformed since spending my 2.5 years there. And gosh, like most of the animals and species that you're gonna find in Madagascar, you cannot find it anywhere else in the world. And it is also home to 6 of the 12 species of the baobab trees. And I can send you pictures of that as well.
Wow. I mean, when you get immersed into a totally different country, 2.5 years is a long time. So you must have picked up a lot of the local customs, the foods. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Any special foods that you really enjoyed?
Um, yes, I mean, like whenever anyone mentions Madagascar, my mind is just like flooded with memories and I'm like nostalgic. The food is a huge part of that. Two of the dishes that come to mind, or actually there's 3 of them. First of all, in Madagascar, they have rice with all 3 meals. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're gonna have rice with a side dish. So that for wealthier families, that could include meat, but for the majority of people, it's usually a vegetarian-based dish. So that could be beans, smashed cassava with smashed cassava leaves with peanuts, a lot of let's see, a lot of sauteed spinach or greens. My favorite dish, and one of their 2 national dishes, there's 2 of them. The first one is called rumasava. So rumasava is basically considered the royalties dish. And it consists of various types of meat. So the wealthier the family, the more meatier it's going to be. So you can put chicken in it, you can put beef, add shrimp to it, and it's kind of like a stew, and you eat it over rice. It's absolutely delicious, and some of the spices include ginger, garlic. Oh, it's delicious.
The good spices, yes.
And the second dish is ravitutu, which is the smashed cassava leaves, which you could do it with pork, beef, or for families that cannot afford the beef or the pork, they do it with smashed peanuts, and it's also very delicious. For Malagasy people living in the coast, they also add coconut milk to their ravitutu.
The only reason I ask about the food is because it's just making me hungry because I love to eat. So,
me too. And I mean,
it's for all the viewers too, but for me, yeah, I just like to hear about food.
Oh my gosh, yes, me too. Like, I mean, like, who doesn't? Like that's why you should travel. Just travel and eat.
Absolutely, travel and eat. And so I mean, it's obviously a warm climb because it's just north of the equator. So I'm sure it was hot most of the time, was it? Or
oh no,
no?
I mean, it wasn't like freezing like we are here in New England.
Right.
But they have seasons there. Where I was placed, I was living in the Highlands, and there they have their winter season where it got a little bit colder, and it would get to about like 45 degrees in the evening.
Oh,
I needed my a heavy sleeping bag, and sometimes I would warm up water because I didn't have a heater in my house. My electricity did not support a heater in there.
oh,
So I would
layers.
yeah, layers, hats, sometimes gloves. I will have my sleeping bag, and then a bottle of hot water, and I'll put it in my feet, and that will keep me warm through the night.
Wow.
So that was during the winter season, which it's pretty short. It's less than 3 months.
So how hot does it get though in the summer?
Well, I was in the tea fields. So for me personally, it wasn't anything too intense. I feel like Boston summers are even hotter. But I would say about 90-95 degrees at most, but it was always cool in the evenings
So it wasn't as humid as it is.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
During our summer months. I feel like New England sees the extremes of all sides. We see the beauty and the intensity of it all.
Well, I
Um,
always say if you can live in New England, you can live anywhere on the planet because we have every type of weather.
yeah. But for the volunteers that served in the north of the island or the coast, they it did get cooler in the winter, but it would be like kind of like maybe like Florida, maybe a little warmer. But they had more of that tropical climate versus for the volunteers placed in the highlands, we experienced more of the colder winter where people were actually wearing coats and hats.
Oh, so they make the volunteers go up in the colder weather. Is that what you're saying?
Some of us know, but but we had access to more vegetables and more food and stuff.
Ah, so that
Yeah,
it balances. Yeah. Yeah.
it balances out. And also, being in the heat sounds great, but keep in mind that in Florida, people have access to air conditioning. Imagine living in a house with no electricity, having to close your doors at night for safety, and then like basically being in a sauna, sleeping
Oh,
indoors in the evening. That is how it was described to me by
oh.
some volunteers that were living in the coast. So it was pretty hot, and they enjoyed it, but that was one of the hard parts they had to get used to.
Wow. So, all right. How was, I guess I can ask, so you were there until when? Sometime last year? Was it
Yes,
before
I was
COVID?
evacuated. I was evacuated due to COVID-19.
Mhm.
So I extended a third year. So I was supposed to originally serve just for 27 months, but I loved it so much I extended. And I was living in the capital during my third year, and then we were evacuated 6 months into
Oh,
my.
that's horrible. I mean, I'm sure. So, you have any plans to go back or to go to another country? What are you doing now?
Right now, I am teaching, thank God for Boston Public Schools, and I love it. I'm teaching music again. Um, I do hope to go back someday when the borders are open. Right now, because of COVID, there's a lot of
Right.
restrictions. But hopefully, with the vaccine and with new protocols, they'll reopen soon because their economy has taken a hit with this pandemic, as most countries have.
Or maybe even another country. Maybe you can go somewhere else. I mean,
Um,
it,
I
when
feel
everything opens up, you may, I know you loved it there, but you said you like to explore. So maybe there's another country too, you know?
that's true. Mhm.
Because I'd be
That's
open to going to another country for a while I mean, it's just incredible because, you live in the United States your whole life, you get very little culture because, you have people from different ethnicities, races, and you learn things, but to be immersed for 2.5 years in a culture, you learn a lot. And I mean, what are do you have some examples of some of the cultural things that you learn there or things that they did on a daily basis that might be different or, interesting?
well, I mean, like I got so much from my experience in general. Um, one of the things that I got from the culture is just kind of becoming more open and more like a communal based societies. So everybody, like, if people want to come and visit you, usually their doors are open during the daytime and you can come in and say hello. My house was always filled with children. Um, Farming is a huge part of Malagasy culture. So I did pick up a new skill while I was there. I learned to fetch water. And, I almost balanced the laundry basket on top of my head. My hands were on it the entire time. I was not like these fierce Malagasy women that could carry like I would say like 20, 30 pounds of laundry or like vegetables, whatever they were balancing on their head, and they will walk up hills and make it look easy. Like, yeah. So it's just like I felt really alive through that experience. I felt like all of my senses were enacted during my time there. And also, like during one of my like explorations around the country, I discovered that red bananas grow in Madagascar in the coast, which is pretty neat. It was my first time ever seeing a red banana. They don't taste as sweet as the yellow bananas, but they were still good.
I've never seen a red banana. I've yet to
Well,
see one.
I have a picture, so I can send that over to you.
And when you say
And
fetch water, it's not going to the faucet and just like, no, you're going to fetch water from a well or
yeah,
from a river or.
yep. So during training, it was a well that was fairly close to my host family's house. When I was at site living on my own, it was a little further out. And when that water pump would run out of water, then I would need to go to another well to get water. So I became very conscious of how I was using my water. And when there were shortages, there will be days that you couldn't take a bath every day. I know it sounds kind of gross, but that's just like um, some of the realities that come where when you live in a water insecure area.
Yeah, where we take it for granted that we turn on the faucet and the shower goes on and everything. But now it's, you go to Madagascar and you have to carry that water. So that's your drinking water and your bath water. And if
And
that's
the water
low,
you cook, and the water you use to cook, to do your dishes, and like some days I'd be tired. And like I'm like, oh, I have to go fetch water if I want to make dinner and take a warm bath. Yeah.
so you got a good workout.
I have some nice arms by the end of my service. Yeah. I had some
So,
good guns. I was in really good shape. I think, I think I lost like 5 pounds. I wasn't like big or anything when I entered, but you could tell I was a little bit leaner. Even my mom said it when I sent her pictures. She's like, oh, you look good.
so instead of going to the gym, everybody sign up for the Peace Corps, go live in Madagascar for 2.5 years, fetch your water, do all your daily chores, and do a lot of walking. And it's the same thing. You're not really spending any money. See?
Yep. Or go work in the rice field. One of the most
Oh,
intense and funnest experience I had there was learning to plant rice, which is commonly what the women would do there. So I went and planted rice, and they had like kind of like a string where you measure across the field, and you got to plant each of them about 2 or 3 inches apart. And like it's just like bending down. And you're talking about like fields that are the size, like I'm gonna say a couple meters. They were really big fields of rice. Um, yeah, so like you're like bending down and doing squats, and like, and we're talking about 3 hours of this.
wow.
So,
I'm getting sore
and
thinking about it.
I mean, when I was doing it didn't register to me what I was doing. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm like my feet are in the mud and I'm planting rice and I'm doing like this like really cool thing that most Malagasy people think that this is like their everyday thing. And they're like, here's this American thinking like she's like in a amusement park doing something cool. And like, as I was doing this, my friend's family who invited me to plant rice with them like people were walking by and they're like, why is the American doing chores with you and planting rice? And she was like, that's what she wanted to do.
We do this every time to survive, but she just wants to help out. She just wants to do it. She's crazy.
Into
Okay.
Madagascar. I want to go hang out at the hotel over there. And I'm like, nah.
No, I want to plant rice.
No, let's go eat rice and like do the Malagasy thing. And they also have like these old buses that like little caravans that they call taxi bruces, and that's how people get around there. So if you want to go into the city that's closest, everybody pays their fare. The bus does not go until it's full of people, so you have to wait sometimes hours until it gets filled out, and then you go to the city. For me, the closest city was Fianarantsoa, and it was about an hour and a half by taxi Bruce. And yeah, that's just like kind of like an invigorating experience to like be crowded on these buses. Like you make friends and families. I carried people's children in these Bruces and made friends. Very different from the public transportation experience here in the US.
Do they drive like crazy, or are they very good drivers?
It depends.
The bus drivers. The bus drivers, I meant.
Well, I mean, like the other thing about Madagascar is that it's still a developing country. So like their roads and infrastructure are not fully developed. So it's not only about the driving of the bus drivers. Even if they wanted to go fast, like the roads would not allow it. Some of them are like dirt roads that would get muddy during rainy season. So that's one of the things. And then on the national road, yes, they drive really, really fast.
I was only asking that question because the one time I went to Bermuda, their bus drivers drive like maniacs, and they actually sell T-shirts that said, "I survived the Bermuda bus ride," because they drive like crazy. They let one woman off in a shrub. They have these really narrow roads, and like if somebody's coming the other way, they'll go first and just miss you by that much. So I didn't know. I always ask that question because I had that one experience. Crazy.
I think there's like episodes. There's like this show called "The Most Dangerous Roads in the World." Madagascar's featured on there, and
Okay.
they have some of the windiest and narrowest roads in the world. I think so. They do drive really fast. You feel like you're gonna collide. It's like like my first taxi Bruce ride. I was scared.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Just adds to the excitement. Adds to the being immersed in the culture.
Yeah.
You get all the highs and the lows. So
the highs and the lows. And even in the lows, you learn to survive and you learn how strong you are and you learn a different way of doing things.
Yeah. So I guess I'm sure you miss the kids and they miss you. They must have got attached to you. You said they were always over the house and
they were always in my house, especially on Sundays during our cooking classes. So like I'm very much into foods from around the world, and I've picked up some dishes from different parts of the world because of my diverse friends. So I kind of wanted to share that with them because one of the beauties and one of the things I love about the United States is that you can basically find like most cuisines that are available from around the world. You can find it here, and it's like pretty much authentic for the most part. Yeah. So for many of the children there, a lot of them have like it's a big deal for them to go to the city that is closest to them, not even the capital. They're pretty much just set there. So I kind of wanted to give them that global experience like through food, and we did that. And I made empanadas with them. We made tacos. We made hamburgers. What else did we do? We definitely did Dominican food, and we did cachapas from Venezuela. And let's see, what else did I share with them? I think that sums up some of the ones that we did together. But it was really, really fun. And then I would talk to them about the country where this food comes from and show them pictures on my phone of the people and what the country looks like. So we really enjoyed that.
Nice. How about, I have one more question. How about the music? local music?
Local music. Music is pretty much a part of Malagasy music. I actually have a video I can share with you of rice farmers preparing rice and singing as they're doing it. And if you're taking a hike around like the town or going into the deep countryside, from maybe meters away, you can hear the farmer singing, and that's how you know you're going to come across another rice field. So that's one thing. They have, as you get to the coast, you're going to get more of like the African feel of more dance music, and in the highlands is a little bit more conservative. Very, very just beautiful music, great musicians. You're going to find a great jazz scene in the capital too. Let's see. What else can I say about Malagasy music? There's actually an artist that's like merging like American pop music with Malagasy music. She's actually based here in Boston at the moment. Her name's
Oh.
New Rata. Yeah, and she's also very, very talented. Like she's a part of like that Malagasy American community here, putting Madagascar on the map, and graduated from Berklee College of Music.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much, Jennifer, for joining us tonight. Because I learned a lot about Madagascar, and so did everybody else, and what our Peace Corps is doing out there in the world, and bringing English to these countries. It's a great service that you did, and hopefully you get to go back out there again once this whole pandemic is over.
I hope the universe hears your words and that I actually do get to go back. I would really like to go back and visit my community, and I hope more people are inspired to go visit Madagascar. It's a great country. The people are lovely. They love Americans there. So you're going to have a great time.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining us. It was our pleasure to have you, and good luck with your teaching. And like I said, hopefully you'll get back.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too. And that'll do it for Around Foxborough. Have yourself a great day.